You are listening to Viewpoints from Place Cloud. Cultural researchers tell stories of places from around the world. For the full multimedia experience and to support the creators you enjoy, visit placecloud.io.
We are standing in a small square, the site of an old churchyard. Now a partly raised garden surrounded by shrubs and a few trees, where a handful of old tombstones are scattered amongst the grass. There are 3 plaques nearby that tell us about this site. This was originally the site of St Olave Silver Street. It is now known as the Noble Street Gardens. St Olave Silver Street was dedicated to Olaf, the first Christian king of Norway who fought in England alongside Ethelred in 1013 against the Danes. The first reference to the church is from the 12th century. The church itself was rebuilt and enlarged in 1609 and 1619, but destroyed in the Great Fire of 1666, on Tuesday the 4th of September to be precise, and not rebuilt, though the churchyard remained. The parish of St Olave Silver Street was eventually joined with St Alban Wood Street. Back in the 16th century, John Soe described it in A Survey of London as a small thing without any noteworthy monuments. The church itself may have not been of great note, but the churchyard and burial grounds it oversaw have a unique history. It was in these grounds that the remains of anatomized individuals were buried. Across the road in Monkwell Square was the Guildhall for the Company of Barbers and Surgeons. In 1540, an Act of Parliament combined these two practices. A hall still stands there today, although this one was built after World War II, and is now just for the Worshipful Company of Barbers. The surgeons split from them in 1800 and set up new facilities in Lincoln's Inn Fields. After the licensing of dissection in 1540, public anatomy demonstrations took place 4 times a year in the Great Hall of the Barber Surgeons Building. The company were entitled to take these bodies from executions at Tyburn and other sites. These demonstrations were attended by the public along with those training to be surgeons. After an anatomization, the remains were taken across the road and interred in the burial ground belonging to St Olave Silver Street. Burial of these anatomies was recorded by the church wardens as costing 1 shilling. The clerk compiling the burial registers in the first half of the 17th century seems to have found it humorous to make a pun on the word anatomy in his burial entries. He would record women as Anne, Anthony, and men as Anthony or a notomy, and other variances on the word. Before this clerk, at the very beginning of the 17th century, the previous clerk was far more helpful and recorded the individuals' names and other details. An early example is that of Catherine Wachter from the 17th of June 1600. In her entry, we even know who performed the anatomy demonstration on her body. It was recorded as Dr. Palmer. Dr. Palmer is almost certainly the Cambridge-educated physician Richard Palmer, who treated Prince Henry in 1612 and was a practitioner at St. Thomas's Hospital. Sadly, this clerk was replaced by our humorous clerk shortly after this entry. And it was only in the 1670s that again the parish registers provide more details about those individuals who were anatomized and had their remains interred in the burial grounds of St Olave Silver Street. The 3 plaques nearby, mentioned earlier, do not acknowledge all those anatomized individuals interred here, One plaque with a skull and crossbone has the following inscribed: "This was the parish church of St Olave, Silver Street, destroyed by the dreadful fire in the year 1666. This is actually a very old plaque, and potentially is one of the oldest that survives commemorating the Great Fire. The second plaque nearby is one which reads, "St Olave, Silver Street. This churchyard was thrown back and the road widened 8 feet by the Commissioner of Sewers at the request of the vestry, Anno Domini 1865. The final plaque commemorates a known residence of William Shakespeare. From 1604, Shakespeare spent a number of years lodging with a French family, the Montjoys. Their house stood almost directly opposite the St Olave Silver Street churchyard. Therefore, despite Stowe's assertion that St Olave Silver Street wasn't all that impressive, there is a lot of history beneath our feet and around this area.